بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. باب المشي إلى الصلاة وفضل المساجد. Walking to the prayer and the special merit of mosques. أخبرنا مالك حدثنا علاء ابن عبد الرحمن ابن يعقوب and عن أبيه. So I believe Ala ibn Abdul Rahman, he is of the Rijal of Muslim and not the Rijal of Bukhari, if I remember correctly. I'll just double check right now. So he's one of these people who are good, but not that amazing. So the shurut, the kind of conditions that Imam Malik are using is not the same as Bukhari and Muslim. They're very different. So he's interested in amal, right? He's interested in hadiths that are supported by amal, that this is what they actually do. Whereas Bukhari and Muslim, Bukhari in Sahih Bukhari, right, is very different. It's like Sahih al-Hadith. So, but here Abdul Rahman, Ala, sorry, Ala, Ala ibn Abdul Rahman. How is he not here? Ala. Mm, one second. This was the video. We're looking up now. Where's Ala ibn Abdul Rahman? Just we have a kind of picture. So they're all thiqat in general, right? When you say reliable, that's a spectrum, right? So they're all thiqat, they're all reliable in the eyes of Imam Malik. That's enough, right? So Imam Ahmad will say things like rawa lahu or rawa anhu Malik. Like the fact that Imam Malik narrates from him is a proof that he's reliable, or at least in principle reliable, right? What was I going to say? Ala. Yes. كثير الحديث. This is him. العلاء بن عبد الرحمن يعقوب. He is قال أنس مالك بن أنس كانت عند العلاء صحيفة يحدث بها فكان إذا أتاه الرجل يكتب بعضا ويدعو بعضا فيقول علاء yeah, so he has one of the books in hadith. روى عن, and he notes from Anas ibn Malik, so he's very old. He's so good. So here Jarh Ta'dil. Okay. Here Imam Ahmad said ثقة لم أسمع أحدا يذكر بسوء. So Imam Ahmad said he's fine. Nasa'i said ليس به بأس, he's okay, right? Which is by ثقة. Abu Hatim al-Razi, who is strict, he said ما أنكروا من حديثي شيء, it's all fine. Yahya ibn Ma'in, he said ليس حديثه بحجة, he's not a proof in hadith, right? Ibn Adi, he says okay. قال Imam al-Dhahabi, like summarizing them all, he says لا ينزل حديثه عن درجة الحسن لكن يجتنب ما أنكر عليه, right? So Bukhari does not use him in Sahih Bukhari. Doesn't use him. Imam Bukhari uses him in another book of his, which is Al-Qira'ah Khalf al-Imam, but in Bukhari, no. So Imam Bukhari in Sahih Bukhari is like the Porsche, yeah, you say maybe like Mercedes Benz, BMW, Audi, Porsche of hadiths. Whereas, so in other books, he will go down to, European cars, Korean cars, etc., that kind of level, if that's a comparison, right? So he's not that amazing, but Imam Malik says he's fine. And he used to quote, so this is indicative as well. There's a book he had. He had a book of hadiths. So where is the book of Ala ibn Abdurrahman? We don't have it today, like most books, right? Like many books. So they'll quote the Musnad of, or the Jami' of Sufyan al-Thawri. Where is that book? We don't have that book. We have many hadiths from Sufyan al-Thawri, but we don't have his book. Where is that book gone, right? So what happens is those books of theirs dissolve into later books. So if you collected all his books, right, if all the hadith narrated by that person, you basically have his book, right? But otherwise, we don't have that book. But many of the Salaf, they had books. So were hadiths written down? Yes. Was Imam Bukhari the first person to write hadith down? No. What are you talking about? Tons of Sahaba had books on hadith, right? So he told us from his father أنه سمع أبا هريرة قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا ثوي بالصلاة فلا تأتوها تسعون وأتوها وعليكم السكينة فما أدركتم فصلوا وما فاتكم فأتموا فإن أحدكم في صلاة ما كان يعمد إلى الصلاة. So Malik informed us that Ala ibn Abdurrahman ibn Yaqub informed us from his father, Abdurrahman ibn Yaqub, that he heard Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu say, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when the prayer is announced for the second time, the iqamah, do not rush. Don't do it. Right? Don't rush. Come calmly. Okay? And he's going to explain in a second. He says, so long as anyone intends to pray, he is in prayer. So while you're getting in the car and driving to the masjid and getting your son into the masjid, you're into the car, you're already praying. So don't, right? As the Prophet said, don't look down on any good deed. You are doing something good, right? Sometimes I'll go to the mosque even if I know I'm going to miss it. Right? The likelihood of them still being in the fourth rak'ah, I don't know. But still go, because it's all ibadah. It's not about rushing here and rushing there. That's a materialistic way of looking at things. Spiritually, I'm going to the masjid. It's all ibadah. And so therefore you shouldn't look around unnecessarily while you should reduce your speech if possible in the mosque when you go into the prayer. Say we start doing dhikr, etc., because you are all in prayer mode, right? If kids want to play, don't play just before the prayer. Right? Calm them down a little bit before the prayer. Right? We're in prayer mode now. Okay. There's no doubting about it. So don't rush. There's no need to rush. Right? And as the Prophet said on Hajj, right? He said people rushing here and rushing there. Right? He said, no, chill. Don't do that. فَإِنَّ الْبِرَّ لَيْسَ بِالْإِيضَاعِ. Running around is not how you do good deeds. That's not how it works. Right? Don't be frantic. Be cool, calm, collected. Okay, so we said, come, so you don't rush, you walk purposely. That's all. Whatever you do, then pray what you catch and complete what you miss. This is a fiqh issue now. Complete what you miss. If you say complete, atimmu, okay, that means complete. There's another version of this hadith which says faqdu, which says make up. So qada means to complete something, but it also means to make up. So when you have prayed, when you catch the last two rakahs of dhuhr, are you completing the third and fourth rakahs? Or are you making up the first and second rakahs? So the Prophet ﷺ is quoted to have said, for atimmu, which means complete, i.e., you've already done two, so now you're completing your third and fourth. And the Prophet ﷺ is also quoted to have said faqdu, which would imply doing qada. So in which case you're praying Maghrib, you're going to do qada of the first rak'ah, so you're going to do it aloud. right? Or do you do it silently, right? That's an issue. So in the Shafi school, what do we say? We say fa'timmu. That's how we understand it. Right? You are on your first outwardly, you are doing what the Imam does. So for example, the Imam, you catch the second rak'ah of second rak'ah of Fajr, you're gonna do the qunut with the Imam. But when you get up, you didn't do the second rak'ah of Fajr. You did the first rak'ah of Fajr. You're gonna get up and do the qunut of Fajr, right? And etc. The third rak'ah of Maghrib, you don't recite aloud, right? Now I believe in that Maliki school, it's like they 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 do it in two different ways depending. Like I don't know how it is, but um, I'm not quite sure about the other madhahib exactly. But in the Shafi school,
You
so the
understand?
point is, go ahead.
Or what about the tashahhud?
So in
Like,
the Shafi school, in the Shafi school, we're going to say it depends what. So you're you are on the third rak'ah. So if you're not making up the first rak'ah of Maghrib, you are now praying the third rak'ah of Maghrib. So you did in your first rak'ah, you did a tashahhud with the Imam. In your second rak'ah, you did the tashahhud with the Imam. And in your third rak'ah, you have to do the tashahhud because you didn't do the tashahhud. I
but
mean,
we have to do we
you
have
have,
to do the first and second with them, no?
we have to do that. Yeah, you have to sit with the Imam. You have to say it, but you have to stand
We
still.
don't have to say it.
No, you don't.
Then what about then the second, that means if we didn't say it, that means our salah, we didn't say the first tashahhud.
Yeah, so you have to
Okay.
sit. So you're in the first rak'ah. You missed the first rak'ah of Maghrib. So now you're in the second rak'ah with the Imam. You have to sit with the Imam. Okay? You don't have to
Yeah.
recite the tashahhud, but you have to sit with the Imam.
So
In
our salah would not have the first, we would not have recited first. If
yeah, so
we
what you
do the
should do
second.
then in the second, you're in your second rak'ah, which is his third, you're going to do the tashahhud. So you should do the tashahhud there, but you don't have to. But you do have to
Okay.
sit there with him. You have to sit there with him.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
But let's say, so now you just missed the sunnah of doing the first tashahhud. Now, when you get up for your third rak'ah, this is your third rak'ah, and now you have to do is fard to do the tashahhud in the last rak'ah, right? And
Yes.
so, but now you have to do it. But if you say faqdu, then make it up. Say, no, I'm doing my first rak'ah now. So in which case you're going to get up, do the basmala al-fatiha aloud, do the surah aloud, and you've
Right.
already done the tashahhud because you're making up the first rak'ah, right? And so we don't do that in the Shafi school.
Okay.
Um, okay, so we should do it calm, cool, calm, collected. That's the spirit of it. And pray properly, right? Okay. So it says, قال محمد لا تعجلن بركوع ولا افتتاح حتى تصلوا إلى الصف وتقوموا فيه. You stand therein. This is very important. This is very practical and very important, right? So وهو قول أبي حنيفة رحمه الله. So you can start the prayer only begins by standing. If you do not stand and say Allahu Akbar, so you're standing and saying Allahu Akbar with your niyyah, there's no prayer, right? Now, in the Maliki school, there is some discussion here. There is some discussion, right? And so I don't recall, I remember talking to a Maliki about it once, and it's some kind of ikhtilaf or some kind of shurut on this issue that um, the qiyam is not wajib or something like that to some extent. So maybe you know somebody who did that once in the past. You should go and ask a Maliki scholar, is there exactly how does it work? Right? But otherwise, we should tell our kids, be careful, and tell adults as well. You see adults doing that, unfortunately. They rush, which they shouldn't do. Right? You see adults run sometimes, subhanAllah, it's very, it's not good. They rush, stop, stand still, Allahu Akbar, then catch up, right? Um, okay, so it says, do not hasten to bow or begin until you join the row and stand in it. That's a rukun, right? That is so I don't know, is it so standing is standing fard for them for the Hanafis or wajib? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a fard though. Stand at some point. But maybe it's fard to them for the stand, but to stand for a moment is wajib. I'm not sure. So inshallah, there's some room somewhere, right? So generally speaking, what's the process is for the past, we find some kind of rukhsa somehow. If there's no rukhsa, you're going to have to do qada, right? So, Ibn Abidin, he mentions this, and the general practice of many of the fuqaha is finding a rukhsa or a tarakhus or finding a weak position, li-isqat al-qada, in order to avoid having to make up years of prayers, right? You find a weak position in this madhab here, there. Going forward, you follow a mu'tamada position, right? Something that's relied upon. أخبرنا مالك حدثنا نافع أن ابن عمر سمع الإقامة وهو بالبقيع فأسرع المشي. He sped up. He quickened his pace. So can you go quickly? Yes. Right? Can you go quickly? But as long as you're calm. So can you drive 150 miles an hour? It's totally fine. As long as it's legal and as long as you're calm, that's fine. But the spirit is you are cool, calm, collected. Right? قال محمد هذا لا بأس به ما لم يجهد نفسه. Imam Muhammad said there's no harm in this as long as one does not distress oneself, or you could say as long as one does not exert oneself, right? Exert. Okay? As long as one does not exert oneself. So some people can walk very quickly and they're still focused. But the point is you are in prayer mode, you should not be running around. Right? أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا سمي أنه سمع أبا بكر يعني ابن عبد الرحمن يقول من غدا أو راح إلى المسجد لا يريد غيره ليتعلم خيرا أو يعلمه ثم رجع إلى بيته الذي خرج منه كان كالمجاهد في سبيل الله رجع غانما. Right, so Imam Malik narrates from Sumay that he heard from Abu Bakr ibn Abdul Rahman. I believe this is the son of Abu Bakr, Allahu A'lam, not really sure, who said, so this is a tabi'i saying, so this is a hadith maqtu', right? Says, whoever goes out in the morning or in the evening to the mosque, not intending other than, sorry, you can't see here, not intending other than that, to learn good or to teach good. Notice the context of the masjid is a place to learn, right? Then returns to the house he departed from, is like the one who strives in jihad in the way and returns with war booty. So not only did you come back with your life, you came back with also dunya, right? So it's a huge thing, right? So going to the masjid and come back is super important, right? And in the what's it called? In the Matan Shujaa class, we're talking about the role of men and patriarchy, etc. So praying in the mosque is part of the role of men. Women do not have to pray in the mosque. Men have to pray in the mosque, right? Praying in the mosque is a religio-political statement, right? If the Chinese knew what it meant to pray in the mosque, they would ban it. So religion is fine, but not politics. Praying in the mosque is actually a political statement. It's a religio-political statement. So it's very important, right? That's a very important thing. Now, this hadith, anyways, maqtu', is quoted as the words of a tabi'i. So along comes Joseph Shacht, okay, and he says, let's look at the Muwatta. So he studied the Muwatta, and he studied, I think, the of Imam Shafi or something like that. And so he looks at the Muwatta, and he says the Muwatta is early, okay? Look at the students of the Muwatta, like Bukhari and Abu Dawood, and lo and behold, you find a bunch of hadiths that Imam Malik quotes as quotes of Sahaba and Tabi'een, and then you find them in Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi as quotes of the Prophet ﷺ. So he said, aha, we know this system. The Prophet ﷺ, he didn't teach that much. Religion was very vague. There was probably, there's probably like a handful of hadiths, maybe 100 hadiths are actually the words of Prophet Muhammad. Religion was very vague and simple. Then what happened? Is generation after generation, retrospectively, things were added to the hadith collection. For example, this hadith, I'm pretty sure this is a hadith. right? Imam Shafi, for example, narrates that Mujahid, if I'm correct, he says that Mujahid, the student of Ibn Abbas, said, the closest a slave is to his Lord is when he is prostrating. That's a hadith, right? So Shakht sees his Shafi'i quoting a hadith as the words of a tabi'i, and later on, a chain of transmission is fabricated, as he would claim, is fabricated to make it a words of the Prophet ﷺ. And so this is his assumption that they basically, whenever the hadith is quoted earlier on as the words of the Sahabi or Tabi'i, and then later on as the Prophet ﷺ, that means they lied, basically. They lied and they added. And then he makes this exact exaggeration that fiqh basically didn't exist, right? And whenever you find any hadiths that to do with like fiqh, they probably didn't exist, and there are a later thing that was created, and then a chain transmission is created in order to add that. Now, were our scholars aware of that? Of course. That's what the muhaddithin do. They are there to check what's been added and what's not added. And they will point out this hadith is this, and this hadith is this, and look, this hadith. The classic criticism, hadith criticism is, what is it? Yarwi al-marasil muttasila or something like that. There's a hadith with a gap in the chain, and so-and-so will make a mistake and complete it. So then the next generation thinks it's a sahih hadith, but it's not. Or يرفع المقطوعات or يرفع what is it? الموقوفات, right? This person, one of the classic mistakes that this hadith narrator will do is there's a hadith that's not a hadith, it's a quote of a Sahabi, and he'll say قال أبو هريرة and then and Rasulullah add that to it and suddenly make the hadith into a hadith even though it wasn't. So people like Sheikh, they're coming along and saying, these poor, ignorant Arabs, they don't know anything. We Western people, we know everything. Let's explain where they went wrong. Whereas you're wrong. Your research is extremely limited. We're aware of these discussions. We're already aware of the fact that Imam Malik will frequently quote a hadith as mawquf, even though it's marfu', right? And some Sahaba will do this. They'll quote the Prophet ﷺ. They won't quote the Prophet ﷺ. And so it's very common to find a hadith that is quoted as a hadith and not as a hadith, right? And that doesn't mean that people are lying. And they can be lying, but we are aware of them, and we don't need some kafir to come along and say, oh, by the way, these errors happened. We know way more than what you're talking about. We know way more about our errors, and we know way more that's reliable. You don't need to come along and show us what's wrong with us. Okay? So this, and unfortunately, to this date, it's like that. To this day, it's like that. When you study Orientalism in the West, it's basically everything that is in English and is written by kuffar is right. Everything that's written in Arabic and written by Muslims is wrong. Biased, that assumption. And it's extremely biased and extremely silly. Like, it's really like immature. Like, it's just like, when you read it, it's like many times I attempted, I want to do my PhD in the West. Let's do it, get a PhD in the West, right? It's useful, right? But it's so stupid that it's kind of like, it's almost like you're studying with a racist and you like have to pretend to be racist in order to get a PhD, right? Like imagine that, right? Imagine, for example, I'm going to say anybody who's not white is an animal. And I have to like agree with them in order to get my PhD. Like isn't that low? Isn't that weird? Right? And so a lot of it is like really silly. And unfortunately, it's all there. Right? It's like you can write this thing and they're quoting all these things and like there's so much written in Arabic. Where's the Arabic sources? Like it's just lacking. It's like bad academics. And unfortunately, that's very common in the arts, right? Like there's like a lot of things in the arts, it's actually a religion. And it's not just in Islamic studies, in history. You're going to rewrite, for example, something in history. You can't. Why? Because their deen, their religious or the dogma that is over in the academic world is like this. Somebody, for example, they tried to write the most ridiculous thing on this whole gender stuff, and they managed to publish it. And they're like, look how stupid your academia is. If I say something that fits the agenda, it gets published, even though it's made up. And they said, I made it up, look, and it's all stupid. It's actually like laughable. But look, you published it. And you quote my source, even though I made it up. It's a whole thing in the arts, unfortunately. And in the sciences to some extent as well. But in the arts, it's a maskhara, it's a joke. So being like a serious academic in the arts is very difficult. Because you have to follow their religion. If it's in Islamic studies, if it's in like literature, if it's in history, if it's in something else, it's like a religion. Like their way, like this is the assumption, right? And you're not even allowed to get out of it. So it's a very, very, very stressful, or it's almost ridiculous kind of world to get into. Anyway, so I'm just gonna double check this. I'm pretty sure it's quoted hadith. So man غدا أو راح إلى المسجد. Let me find that. I'm pretty sure it's a hadith. من غدا أو من غدا إلى المسجد. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this hadith is in like uh there's a slightly different hadith. Let's find it in Bukhari. Totally different hadith. This is from Abu Hurairah, right? Is this? No. This is from whom? Sumay. Malik from Sumay and Abu Bakr Abdul Rahman. So let's quick look at this. I remember seeing this hadith somewhere. Lee. Okay, إلى المسجد. What is it? ليتعلم خيرا. Here we go. Okay, so this is a totally different hadith. Okay, so this is from a different chain transmission with a different everything that says whoever goes and he only wants learning, so it has the same thing. كان له أجر معتمر, it's a totally different ending. But I want to find this. من غدا إلى المسجد. Uh, I'll find that. So there's a hadith like it, but it's not really the same. Trying to look it up now. Where am I? Let me see. Looking up in the Shamila right now. نطاق محدد. Okay. Okay, so the other one is totally different, which is here we go. Muwatta Malik. Okay, that's the same one. We're looking at different versions of the Muwatta here. One second. Hmm, Okay, here's another one like it. Here we go. So, عن سهل ابن سعد الساعدي the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من دخل مسجدي هذا ليتعلم خيرا يعلم كان بمنزل المجاهد في سبيل الله. Uh, that's a similar hadith. Totally different chain. Okay, so here then it is there's a well-known hadith, similar-ish meaning but different, which is that it says whoever goes to the mosque only wanting to learn good or teach it, he will have the reward of going on an umrah. Um, and whoever does this is going to about Hajj. It's totally different hadith. There's a similar hadith. What I'm trying to see here, Imam Malik narrates it in the same way. That hadith has the words. Okay, so Ibn okay, interesting. Okay, so this is a quote from Ka'b al-Ahbar. Okay, so here we see it as the words of a tabi'i. In Ibn Abi Shayba, that's a different chain, totally different chain, and it goes back to Ka'b al-Ahbar. So Ka'b al-Ahbar is a rabbi converted to Islam. He said, I found in some religious book, and it says basically that. It says that kind of thing, right? So this in the Muwatta here, the source for it may actually go back to Ka'b al-Ahbar, which is possible. Another chain, same thing, Ka'b al-Ahbar. And in Ibn Hibban, find this in Ibn Hibban, one second. Just want to see the chain here. So in Ibn Hibban and Imam Ahmad it says, Man dakhala masjidin, whoever enters this house, this mosque of ours, in order to learn good or to teach it, he'll be like a mujahid. Okay. And so totally different chain. So this is in Abu Bakr, this is Ibn Majah. So in Ibn Majah, it's a quote from Abu Huraira. Mhm. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say is is so basically the claim is someone like Ibn Majah made up a chain for it, and but the problem is it's not just Ibn Majah, it's other people as well. So Ibn Majah made it up for it. His teacher also made it up. So basically everyone's a liar. Right? Everybody who doesn't agree with me is a liar, which doesn't make any sense. Um, and من دخل مسجد تعالى خيرا. Same thing for Sahal ibn Sa'ad al-Sa'idi. So anyways, there's a hadith. The general meaning is found in different hadith. But the point I'm trying to make uh, is it possible that a hadith is quoted as the words of a tabi'i or a sahabi, and it's actually the words of the Prophet ﷺ? Yes. How? Because he's being careful, right? I can't remember exactly if my teacher said that was the words of his teacher or his words. So he just said, I'm just going to stop it there, right? So that's a thing to do. Okay. Inshallah. Next week we'll continue with this part here. رجل يصلي وقد أخذ المؤذن في الإقامة. Inshallah ta'ala we'll continue there. And we'll stop here. سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.